Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. The leadership of the Labour Party have reacted to yesterday's judgment of the Supreme Court, affirming the electoral victory of President Bola Tinubu, saying that the legislative and judicial arms of government have been hijacked by the ruling All Progressives Congress APC. Now, the press briefing hours after the Apex Court dismissed the appeals by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and his Labour Party counterpart, Peter Obi. Labour Party's chairman, Julius Abure, said the party was disappointed, but have decided to charge on and remain optimistic for what the future holds for the nation. Now, here's what Labour Party's Kenneth Okonkwo had to say after yesterday's verdict.
As a fine imposed on the second respondent for the proceeds of narcotics and money laundering by the District Court of Illinois. I sat down through, I did not hear it. Yes, it has been laid to rest. The Supreme Court has the authority to interpret the Constitution. It is their prerogative as the arm of government imbued with the power to interpret. That is the interpretation they have given to it, and it is binding on us all. That's what I'm going to say on it. Even the Supreme Court agrees that the election was not credible, or as credible as it ought to have been if the result was uploaded. So credibility is one of the three arms of an election for the people: free, fair, and credible.
Also, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in a statement issued by its National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, said that the PDP, and indeed majority of Nigerians, were alarmed, disappointed, and gravely concerned with the reasoning of the Supreme Court. He said the PDP believed the judgment was against the express provisions of the Constitution and the Electoral Act and the guideline and regulation issued by INEC, under which the election was conducted. While these reactions trickle in, President Tinubu has said he remains resolute in his renewed hope agenda, which he said was aimed or is aimed to transform and better the lives of Nigerians.
Pulling Nigeria from the boot trap of depression. And we understand the suffering of the country. You don't need additional distraction to be able to concentrate on building a new economy for the people, an inclusive one for that matter. And the judgment of the Supreme Court put a stop to shenanigans, put a stop to innuendos, put a stop to lies or trial in the media and public place. The court has demonstrated in this visible commitment to rule of law and humanity, and their commitment to do justice for all Nigerians, regardless of ethnic, religious, or any other bias.
And of course, that was the Nigerian president reacting to his victory at the Supreme Court. We now have Ezekiel Nya-Etok joining us this morning. Good morning, and thanks for joining us, Mr. Nya-Etok. Mr. Nya-Etok, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Good morning, great to have you. Yes, we can, loud and clear also. Thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us this morning. Let's get your reactions. You know, I was saying earlier that it seems like there's celebration across the country. Parties non-stop in different regions in the country after the Supreme Court's judgment yesterday. Is it the same thing at your end? And what are your thoughts on yesterday's judgment?
Two things. The very first is when you talk of celebration, I take that with some level of cautious optimism. It's a judgment that has a lot of implication. And I think that we should, maybe when we go into the details, we will be able to tell exactly where we stand. For me, being somebody that was affected by this same process, I think there's a lot that we've got to do, a whole lot. When we continue, like I said, we'll be able to examine some of those details.
All right. So I think another angle to ask would be: did you foresee the line in which the judgment was going to lean toward?
No, I didn't quite get that.
I said another angle was: did you foresee the line towards which the angle was going? I mean, there were a number of Nigerians who had predicted that the judgment would go in this direction. Were you in that category? Mr. Nya-Etok, I don't know if you're able to hear us. Seems we are having challenges connecting with Mr. Nya-Etok. But just to quickly highlight that there are a number of issues that were touched on yesterday, a number of issues that the court had resolved in favor of the current administration. One would be that the court was of the view that INEC substantially complied with the Electoral Act 2022 and the Constitution in the conduct of the poll, that the election cannot be nullified due to the unavailability of results on INEC's IREF portal, that the failure to secure 25% of votes in the Federal Capital Territory cannot invalidate a winner's election, that the petitioners did not prove allegations of rigging against Tinubu. These are some of the positions, the issues that the court ruled in favor of the current administration. We're still joined by Mr. Ezekiel Nya-Etok. We hope that you're here with us now. Great. I was asking, I said the number of Nigerians had predicted, we did have some guests on the show who had predicted the way in which the judgment would flow, and I was wondering if you're in that category as well. All right.
Well, we try to, make a better connection with Ezekiel Nya-Etok this morning. Let's quickly see what the FCT minister had to say yesterday, amongst other people who reacted to the Supreme Court judgment yesterday.
Maybe you did not understand what he said about those special status. What he said that in terms of calculating or having the special square, you must not win FCT before you are declared president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That FCT is like another state. So that you don't need to say, oh, if you don't win FCT, therefore you cannot be declared. That's what he said. I didn't come with APC crew. And in the court here, I don't know where they said APC and PDP. I came here as somebody who's interested, as somebody who wanted the country to move forward. So I congratulate Mr. President, and I think that this has come to the end. No more speculation. So Mr. President can focus and do what he's supposed to do.
Well, you see, this is a developing democracy in a developing nation, so you expect such distractions to occur. But I believe we fine-tune our laws, especially electoral laws, and and we believe we shall come to the mature stage that we are expecting. Pertaining to acceptance of this verdict, I urge our colleagues, politicians, to accept it in good faith. And also I have to use this opportunity to congratulate politicians, to congratulate the leaders of the opposition political parties, because it is better for them to resort to judiciary, which they have done so, rather than taking, arms against against each other. Yeah. So we have to congratulate our politicians for resulting to judiciary, and the judiciary has done well. It means that democracy is getting matured in Nigeria. And
we're glad that this puts an end to all litigation and a closure to all the speculations and all that. Mr. President, in his magnanimity, I'm sure will now again reach out to all to join hands with him in his renewed hope agenda. APC was his platform, but the Nigerian state is where he's president of. So this is not just a victory for our party APC, it's a victory for the country.
The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, who of course is one of those who allegedly worked against his party He is a PDP member still. Allegedly, well, I mean, from what it seems, worked against his party in the elections and now has been made FCT minister by the current president. Of course, you heard the question. They're asking why he wasn't standing with the PDP, even if he's still a member of the PDP, in court. He did speak about that. And of course, right next to that, you saw Abdullahi Ganduje, former governor of Kano State, who was caught on video stuffing in foreign currency into his agbada. Went very, very viral back then. And of course, because of immunity as governor, he wasn't interrogated or investigated. He's currently the APC chairman and, eventually survived his time as governor, even if he was caught receiving bribes in foreign currency, according to what the video showed back then. And then right after that is Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, I believe, who, according to reports, I think also has the same challenges with his university certificates, I believe. The last time that he was asked, he said, the case is in court. These are the three people you just saw, of course, speaking about the victory of the APC in the elections. Back to Ezekiel Nya-Etok. Thanks once again for joining us.
Thank you. I hope I'm heard clearly now.
Yes, you are.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Nya-Etok, we're asking you before the network got disconnected if you foresaw the direction in which the judgment was going to go, because there are a number of Nigerians who had predicted that this was how the judgment was going to turn out, and we're wondering if you're in that category.
Yes, I am, for the very fact that I was in this same race this season, right up to appeal and to the Supreme Court. And during the process, I think I learned a lot of lessons which made these judgments not to come to me as a surprise in any way. One of such lessons is the technicalities of election petition and the issue of timelines. For instance, I won at the appeal, but my judgment was given a day or two after the 60 days. So though I had an extremely good case and I won at the appeal and it was so pronounced, my fellow contestants took me to the Supreme Court, and their only ground was that the judgment was given, even if it is 1 hour after the 60 days mandatory period. And the Supreme Court had no option but to overrule my victory, because those timelines are like what you call the Rock of Gibraltar, that are immovable. So when our brother Atiku brought the extra evidence, it came at a time where it would need something more than natural to move them to accept a new evidence, because the Supreme Court is not the court of first instance. So those details, those technicalities are things that you must understand in election petition. So I knew that there was going to be a problem with it. It's only the issue of APM having to do with the timing of the substitution of the APC vice presidential candidate, that I thought was one case that they could hold on to and work on the technicalities and get a result. But it seems they did not do a good job. So at the end of the day, my position is we are here. And, we need to now think in terms of our country. I'm happy that the issue of Mr. President is laid to rest finally. It's now up to the president to justify the confidence reposed on him, or the chance that has come his way, or his turn that has finally come. So I think that as far as I'm concerned, nothing came to me as a surprise. There was an issue of 25% at the of the FCT, and between you and I actually felt that they have a point. They have a point, because when you say you cannot win except you win, no matter how much you have won, even if you had 100% of the others that you did not win the FCT means you have not won the election. It's a hard fact to swallow. No, when it's against you, you can, debate it. But assuming you were in their shoes, because we need to think of what's fair. What's fair is fair. It doesn't matter on whose side it falls. So I think that on the whole, I actually, judging from my case and what I experienced, I did expect it would come this way. And I think a lot of Nigerians had anticipated it. That's why there isn't so much. I do not know to what extent there's a jubilation that you are saying, because I don't see it.
I was just being sarcastic when I mentioned celebration and jubilation.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to know, what you think, what precedents you think this sets going forward. There would be elections again in the future, 2027, and even beyond. Do you think that, these rulings, set any precedents that may be good or bad for Nigeria going forward? And also, would you expect that the opposition, just like the president and his colleagues have called, do you think the opposition should join hands and work for a better Nigeria, the PDP, Labour Party, and every other party?
I'll tell you this. I contested the governorship of Akwa Ibom State.
Yes.
And that's because I believe I meant well for the people of Akwa Ibom State. Today, there's a substantive governor. I think that if I meant well for the people, I should think of how the current government in Akwa Ibom State can deliver at the highest possible level in the larger interest of the generality of the people of the state. The same goes to the national level. I believe that that time has come when the word opposition must be understood as an alternate and not a destructive force. What do I mean by that? You need to form what looks like a shadow government. If they go one way, give the people why it should have been the other way. And I think that the government at the center should also be humble enough to learn. For instance, do not give me the story of it was Peter Obi that brought production to consumption, or rather, we should move from consumption to production. Everybody relates that to Mr. Peter Obi, but I want this government to know that that statement, that mindset is one that is like the rock of Gibraltar for the success of Nigeria. Look for any way you want to coin yours, but that sentiment of moving from consumption to production is one that must become a national mantra. Find a way you can have very smart people that will link the renewed hope agenda to, to that concept of becoming a productive economy. You may not call it from consumption to consumption. You may just say, we must become a productive economy. We must become a productive economy. Being a consuming economy is not good enough. We must become a productive economy.
Those are, the challenge with that is that those are terms, those are words, those are, maybe even still campaign speeches. From what we've seen in the last, couple of months since this administration took over office, it doesn't seem like much is different. It doesn't seem like the attitude, towards building Nigeria is different from the previous administration. It doesn't seem like the National Assembly is also different. So you might say these inspiring words of how we should have a renewed hope and a more beautiful hope for Nigeria, but actions don't seem to be different. The National Assembly is still, buying vehicles of 160 million naira. The government is still wasting billions of naira as palliatives. It's pretty much the same thing with, the last 8 years.
Let me tell you something. 4 years is not as long as we think it is. If PDP, not even PDP, if Labour Party is serious, this is the time not to oppose the current system, but to tell Nigerians the reality and what it prognosticates, the larger implication. And they should keep saying, we said it, we said it, we said it, and this is the alternative. For instance, I will tell this government 1, 2, 3 things. I'm an architect, I'm not an economist, but for goodness sake, certain things are just common knowledge. Look at the Naira. The Naira is sliding to a point where $1 now will collect 1,250 Naira.
And this is the point I want to ask you. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time for this conversation, but can I quickly ask you, now that this matter has been decided by the court, do you have faith that things will take a different turn? Maybe you want to assume that the court cases have been a distraction and, hasn't allowed them to prioritize governance. Do you think things will take a different turn for the better?
I have a personal ideology that says, the day I stop to hope, I start to die.
Great. So we can only hope for the best then.
I don't have an option. I keep hope alive, and I want Nigerians to keep hope alive. There's hope.
Mr. Ezekiel Nya-Etok, thank you so much for joining us, and we do hope that things turn out better for Nigeria.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your time.